Okay, here we go. Oh, and by the way, this this shift in the language from Genesis to Second Corinthians, while not hugely significant, I don't think it is interesting. What I mean is, uh, Paul characterizes God as the one who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," which I grant is not that different from saying, "Let there be light," but it's not the same thing. Let light shine out of darkness. And I thought for a while, till I double checked on this, I thought, oh, okay, Paul's probably quoting from the Greek translation of the Old Testament. You know, most of the Old Testament, almost all of it was written in Hebrew to begin with. But a couple centuries before the time of Jesus, a collection of Jewish scholars, well, probably it happened over time. Nobody knows exactly. But it seemed like a good idea for to Jewish scholars to translate their Bible into Greek because so many Jews by that time spoke and read Greek. You know, this was kind of the Hellenization of much of the world, including the Jewish world. And so having a Bible in the Greek language made sense. And we call it what do we call it? We call it some of you know, it's called the Septuagint. We won't go into the details on why it's called that, but Septuagint. Septuagint. So my thought was, well, okay, so Paul's probably quoting from this version of his Bible, this Greek translation. And that's why it's different. That's why it says, let light shine out of darkness rather than let there be light. Well, that's a long ways around to tell you that that's not the case. I checked with one of my colleagues who knows his Septuagint and certainly knows his Greek. And I said, hey, Bob, he's now retired, help me with this. And he got back to me, no, in the Septuagint, it pretty much in Greek says that God said, let there be light. So we have this interesting situation. I'm going to say again, only troublesome if you are a really, really hardcore literalist. And I'm not assuming any of you are, but somebody might be. Certainly they exist in the world, and I'm sure they have some way to deal with this. But in a sense, you could say that Paul is misquoting God, or at least misquoting Genesis 1, and not a major misquotation by any means. The meaning isn't really being changed very much. Whatever the difference between let there be light and let light shine out of darkness, again, it's not a huge deal. But, and here's our real point, I don't want to get caught in the weeds here too far, that God, who is identified as the creator, this is how we ended the first little lecture section, is also identified as the one who has done something significant and decisive in history through the person or like the face of Jesus Christ. So the God who is the creator of all things, and again, as we said, the Nicene Creed eventually said, creator of all things visible and invisible. That same, we'll say, power, creator, source with a capital S, has spoken, is one of the verbs that the New Testament uses. But here, has shone, S-H-O-N-E, shined like a light shining, has shone into our hearts through the face of Jesus Christ. Or has he said, he has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Here's one thing that is going to be very important for this class. We now, in the 22nd century of the Christian age, Christian era, in this, now we're almost one-fourth of the way through the millennium. My goodness, not the millennium, the century, just the century. We have a much better idea about just how immense, mind-blowingly immense and vast and complex the universe is than the Apostle Paul knew, than Moses knew. I would venture to say than Jesus knew, but we don't need to get too controversial too quickly. We'll just leave it this way, that the biblical authors, while they certainly could get some sense of the vastness of the world by standing outside at night and looking up into the stars, and we get that, I think, especially in Psalm 8, which we'll definitely read sometime during this semester. But now we can say things like this, that the planet on which we live, that we call Earth, is in a solar system, we know, that's itself rather large. We're not the center of that solar system, of course. The sun is. This beautiful star that helps to sustain life on our planet. But this solar system, of course, is just a speck, the teeniest speck in the Milky Way galaxy. And just to talk about our galaxy already is enough to blow my mind. Just the immensity of our galaxy with millions upon millions of stars. It might be billions, I'm not sure, but if I say millions upon millions, I know I'm safe. And that a galaxy that just itself would take 100,000 years traveling at the speed of light. 100,000 years to go from one end of the Milky Way galaxy to the other. I actually had in a book that was published 5 or 6 years ago. I missed it by the power of 10. Somewhere I'd gotten the idea that it was 10,000 years, which still seems quite big. Traveling at the speed of light for 10,000 years, but it turns out I was off a bit. I needed to multiply by another 10. 100,000 years at the speed of light. That's just for the Milky Way galaxy. And of course, if you're staying up with your cosmology at all, you know that our Milky Way galaxy is, then we have to say it again, one of millions and very likely billions of galaxies. Oh my goodness. With virtually numberless stars. At some point we'll talk about potentially inhabitable planets, but I won't do that yet. Let's just say the universe is so thoroughly beyond our imaginations in terms of size. So, when the Nicene Creed said that we confess that God, the God that we pray to, the God that we worship, the God that we believe sent Jesus Christ into this world, that this God is the maker of all things visible and invisible. And I'm pretty sure that if you go back to the 4th century, to the theologians that helped to frame the Nicene Creed, and we told them just how much there is to all those things, they'd be amazed, but they would not be shaken in their conviction that the one that they prayed to, the object of worship for Christian faith, and certainly I think we can say for Jews and in their own way for Muslims and many other people, that this God is the maker of all things. The most distant and far-reaching of galaxies, all the black holes, everything out there, so unimaginable. That's hard to get our head around, and it should be hard to get our head around. But we would want to insist that, in fact, not only is God the creator of all of this, but that God is intimately present to every millisecond and every microscopic subatomic particle in the immensity of all the galaxies. None of it is strange or unknown to the one to whom we pray, to God, revealed to us in the face of Jesus Christ. That's a large claim. It's a very large claim. It is the claim of Christian faith. I'll pause here to end this second little sector.